This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 592 for October 24th, 2019. My name is Zach, and this is a special episode devoted entirely to the movie One Piece Stampede. One Piece Stampede came out in Japan in August, but is coming out in the United States and Canada for the first time, and in many other countries around the world. So we're going to be devoting an entire episode just to this movie. Now, it comes out in the United States. The sub comes out October 24th, the 29th, and the 31st. The dub is out on October 26th and the 30th. In Canada, it is available on October 25th and November 5th in Japanese. And in English, it's available on October 28th and November 8th. The movie is 101 minutes, and we are going to be going through it in probably a lot more time than that today here. First, we have a non-spoiler, so spoiler-free interview with the voice herself of Monkey D. Luffy. We have Colleen Clinkenbeard with us. Steve and Alex had a chance to sit down with her. And after that, we're going to have, this is from a few weeks ago, but we had an interview with Greg and Maddie, who were in Japan when this originally released. They talk a little bit about their impressions about this movie. So you could check that out a little bit later in the show. And finally, we have an all-new discussion with Steve, Sam, and our news correspondent, Adil. They're all going to be talking about their thoughts on the movie. That part is going to be spoilery. So you probably want to watch the movie before you listen to that discussion. We're also going to be doing meetups around the country. I am going to be, tonight, as of this release, I'm going to be in Times Square at the AMC Empire 25. That's at 7 p.m. Ed is going to be in the Chicago area at the AMC South Barrington 24. He's going to be there on October 24th at 7 p.m. Central, and also on October 26th for the dub at 2 p.m. Central. Kelly will be in Philadelphia. She's our editor-in-chief, for those who don't know. She will be there October 24th at 7 p.m. And in LA, we have Maddie, Jill, and Steve. They will all be at the AMC Burbank on October 24th at 7 p.m. Pacific. And for the dub, at the AMC Universal City on October 26th at 7 p.m. Pacific. And finally, we have Alex, my co-host, there in Washington, D.C. on October 24th at the Georgetown AMC at 7 p.m. And in Maryland on October 26th at the Rockville Regal at 1 p.m. So if you can meet us there. I also want to remind people that we have an exclusive clip of this movie on our website at onepiecepodcast.com. And last but not least, you have until this Sunday, to submit your questions to Stump the One Piece Podcast and get a chance to win Viz's One Piece Color Walk Compendium. You could send those by email or by Twitter, #StumpOPP. We're going to have a regularly scheduled podcast with Matt Cohen as we go through chapter 960 this Sunday. So be on the lookout for that. With that out of the way, this is going to be the first time I listen to this too. So I am looking forward to this discussion. So here we go.
Hey everybody, it's Alex here. Steve is with me as well.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, and it's interview time once again. In preparation for the new One Piece movie, which is making its U.S. debut in theaters this Thursday, October 24th. Colleen Clinkenbeard is here. You all may know Colleen as the voice of Monkey D. Luffy in One Piece. Colleen, how's it going?
Hey, what's up?
I'm sorry, Luffy, how's it going? Jeez.
Oh, yeah, no, Luffy. Can you please put on Colleen? We want to talk about One Piece with Colleen, not Luffy.
Are you sure? Because Luffy would have absolutely nothing of use to say.
That's for sure. But we love him.
It's good to have you on once again.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I missed you guys. I'm excited to be talking to everybody again. Honestly, I'm just excited to be talking about One Piece again.
Yeah, we're believe me, we're just as stoked as you are. It's been a long time since we've gotten to talk to One Piece or talking to One Piece and about One Piece. One Piece, of course, is the main character of the show One Piece. So, as we all know,
and someday we'll meet him.
Yeah, that's right. One day. Great. I'm glad you're here, Colleen. You're back again as Monkey D. Luffy, who is his own unique ball of energy. What kind of mindset or vocal prep do you get yourself into before stepping into the booth to voice Luffy in particular?
I get asked frequently, like, what do you do to prepare for that voice? And there is no preparing for Luffy. There is no preparing my throat for that voice. It just doesn't happen. There's nothing that can be done to make it not hurt. But the joy of recording him outweighs the pain, so it ends up being a joyful experience anyway, I think. Like, as soon as we find out we're doing more One Piece at all, this movie comes along and I start the OVAs or whatever, and I step in the booth, it's just, we all get excited. Mike and I and whoever's in the room, we constantly talk about how much we love Luffy. I just love him so much.
We all do, definitely. Now with Stampede, I'm curious what your initial impressions of the film, seeing it for the first time as you were stepping into the booth, recording with Mike. Just your initial thoughts on the film, and how does it differ from recording the regular anime series?
I knew it was coming, and working at Funimation as I do in other capacities, I have access that other voice actors wouldn't. So I got to watch the movie in Japanese with no subtitles as like a fast watch through. And then I got in the booth. So I kind of knew what was happening and I kind of didn't know what was happening. But my first impressions were, of course, beautiful animation. That happens every time we have a movie. It's like, oh, look at the pretty. And so I spent, you spend a little bit of time just admiring. And then my other big takeaway on first sight before I got in the booth was that dude is big. I don't know if you've seen the trailers, but the main villain is a large person.
Yeah. The trailers definitely have this sense of scale to them. And Steve got to go to the premiere last weekend in LA, so he's seen the movie.
Oh, so you've seen it?
Yes. I'm the only one of the crew that got the chance, but I consider myself very lucky. Yes, everything was quite large.
It's bigger than life. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's I mean, you frequently have to ask yourself that, how are the Straw Hats going to get out of this now? But in this particular case, it was like, how are you going to beat that person? It'll be interesting to watch that happen. It was, it's scale for sure. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I guess. Yes. Speaking of the main antagonist, Douglas Bullet. Your thoughts on him, and who do you think is your all-time favorite villain in One Piece?
Ooh. Well, first of all, I was instructed as I was in the booth to call him Bullet, not Bullet. So, yeah, Douglas Bullet.
Okay.
Rhymes with mullet. And I don't know why that is. I just know that it's a thing. And so, let's see. I don't remember exactly what you asked, but as far as the antagonist goes, I remember wondering how Mike was going to cast this, because we've used all the large men that exist in the world. And so I was curious how he was going to do it. And then when Damon Mills got it, it was like, oh, you can do that?
I'm glad I'm not the only one that had that reaction too, because I'm vaguely familiar with Damon's work, mostly on One Piece. He was a previous character on film Gold, a much different voice, a much higher pitch.
Yeah.
So I was like,
and if you meet him, he is a small, very attractive man. Like, he doesn't look like an overpowering ogre. He just in no way appears to be that kind of person. And so it was really interesting to be amazed. I like to be amazed, and he will amaze you. When you hear that voice, it's like, what? He did a great job. But what was your actual question?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you covered half of it. Yeah. What were your thoughts on the character himself? And the follow up, of course, is who your all time favorite villain in One Piece is.
Right. Who's my all time favorite villain? I like different villains than the fans like. The fans all want my favorite villains to be the big fights. They want it to be Eneru and Lucci, and like they want those to be my favorite villains, but they hurt. It hurts to chase Eneru up a vine with a ball of gold on the hand for, episode after episode. And Crocodile hurt. So I don't like them. In fact,
you had to do Crocodile twice as well. So
yes, for the movie too. Yeah, and I get a little resentful toward the voice actors of those villains for a while.
Oh boy.
So my favorite villain is Foxy.
Good taste.
Yeah.
Excellent taste.
Jonathan Brooks is
here.
brilliant. Bullet is not my favorite villain. And I think it ends up being a compliment if you are not my favorite villain.
It's some sort of method acting, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I hated you.
Speaking of just like the villains and just like the this large cast of One Piece, a lot of returning characters in this movie. I'm curious to know if there's any characters that are featured in the film you were excited to see show up again.
There were characters that were featured in the film that I forgot existed. Like, it's been a while. It's been a hot minute since I'd heard any of those names before. So Justin Cook had to remind me who he played. There were all sorts of people that were popping in that now have moved to LA. It was a fun, scary moment when you get the first cast list, because you're right. We know the movie's coming. We know there's going to be return characters. It's just a question of how many. And then when you get the full cast list with the line count, that's when the director can start panicking about who he has to find to bring in. And so it was just so many people in LA that they're having to figure out how to get one line from this person and one line from this person. And I think it's a testament to how good the actors are that the directors for One Piece have used over the years, that they have gone on to do, even bigger and better things. And they've gone on to LA and are now in the multi-billion-dollar video game industry. And bringing them back for one line in One Piece means that they wanted to come back for that one line in One Piece because they respect the One Piece fans and they respect the show and they liked their characters. So it was fun to get the whole gang back together again. And I'm always excited when they get new people in particular, and when they get people that we haven't heard from in a long time.
That's pretty excellent.
I just a follow-up question too, just with just Stampede itself, because I just remember with Film Gold, it popped up in theaters about roughly like half a year after it did in Japan, and Stampede, this feels almost instant. Like I think we're only a couple months out from its initial release in Japan. I don't know how far you could elaborate on this, but was it a surprise at all that you guys were getting this so soon, or?
No, I think that's just where the industry has gone, largely because of Funimation's innovation in the simuldub arena. But we've kind of got it figured out now, and we've got the licensors. We have those relationships with the licensors built up to the point where they know that they can trust us with the material early before it is going to appear in Japan, and they're used to the whole idea of it, which took a while for us to get everybody on the same page for this is how it happens. You give us the materials as you're working on them, and that lets us get the dub done, and then it increases the interest and the excitement around the property when it comes to America, because you're going to get both dub and sub fans at the same time. And so I think before, like with Film Gold, that was less possible, and it felt monumental. It felt like a task that was undoable. And then now that we've been doing simuldubs, it feels natural. It feels like, of course, that's the way it's going to work.
Oh, that's so cool. I would have never imagined, like, it in a even 10 years ago that simuldubs could be a thing, and it's such a cool thing to see these days.
It is. It's been a labor of love for a lot of, or actually for a very specific subset of the people who work at Funimation. People like Justin Cook and Gen Fukunaga, people who are dedicated to that becoming the norm. And who really believed that it could happen before other people believed that it could happen. I think Gen had that idea of let's move to a way to find a way to show people the same thing on the same date. And most of the industry thinks that's impossible. And we've just been proving over the last few years that it's not. And it's only a matter of time, I feel like, before it becomes standard.
And speaking of which, I mean, that's currently what's going on with My Hero Academia. You're still directing on that?
I am, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's, things, the anime industry, and I think you could probably say this more than either Alex or I could, but definitely goes through so many changes and is like a different beast than what it was 10 years ago, and hell, even say 5 years ago.
It would have been easy to stagnate and to just have it be what it always was. And I think eventually that would have led to anime kind of giving way in America. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't have been able to have much access to it. And at the same time, licensors would have been finding ways to keep people from pirating. So you would have just not had anime as a genre possibility in America. And because we were allowed to innovate at Funimation particularly, and in the industry in general in America, we have pushed it now to the point where it is a legitimate genre in America. You can find it as, like, you can scroll through subtypes of genres in Netflix and find anime. You know, there are things that you can, there are ways that it has become more of a household term than I think people ever thought was possible. And that's largely because of that kind of innovation.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Stepping back into the booth for a second, what was it like getting to work with Mike as One Piece director again?
I love him. He's our One Piece guru. He's the one that we all turn to for the actual knowledge of the show. And then also, he and I have just been laughing over Luffy for years and years and years. So we kind of have a shorthand sort of inside joke method, I guess. Little things that have amused us about Luffy for years that probably if anybody else was in the booth at the same time that we were laughing about it, they would be like, what are you even laughing about? But to us are so special. We giggle every line. We watch it in Japanese, we laugh. Then I do it, then we laugh. And then we talk about how much we love Luffy, and then we move on to the next line. That's really what happens.
It just reminded me of the early days of the dub. Hopefully you remember this. I think one of the big things I think you and Mike always talked about was just the Luffy singing while he was walking around Skypiea, about being disappointed that he didn't get to see a goat. Sorry, it just took me back. It just reminded me.
There have been several of those.
Yeah.
And Michael come up with some song that is applicable to the moment and have me sing it in Luffy's voice. I remember walking through trees. Luffy was walking through trees at one point, and he had me say, "Welcome to the jungle. You're gonna die." And if you're old enough to remember that song.
Yeah, I'm one of the things I love about the One Piece dub is everybody who works on that side of it. It's like watching a whole new version of the series that I love so much, and everybody who works on it is they got it. Like, they got the goods.
Aww.
So
I agree. I think it feels like that too, and it feels like a family more than I think any other show. Oh, you know what? My Hero feels like a family too, but it's a very young family. Like, we just got together. And with One Piece, it's like it's Thanksgiving. You know, everybody gets together, and we'll all talk about everybody's contribution to the holiday, and it's we feel like family, and these characters feel like family. I can't, it's hard to express how familiar I am with Luffy. Unless you're a voice actor and you understand that when you get in the booth, you frequently have to be reminded of who the character is, listen to a reference, oh, right, get back in character, but not with Luffy. After a year away, I can step back in the booth and know exactly where to pick up from with him. I know exactly how he's going to respond to something. If by some chance there's a line that's written in a way by maybe a new writer who doesn't know exactly Luffy's voice yet, I know I can say that Luffy wouldn't say that. And I just know him, and I love him so much.
So with a lot of the One Piece films, it seems like they're always getting invited to some exotic land or some festival. So just a question for you, Colleen. It's like, what kind of island or celebration would you immediately accept an invitation to? Like, no second thoughts.
Library Island. I want to go to Library Island.
Well,
where they're all very quiet. Where Luffy has to whisper for an entire arc. That would not suck.
I don't know if he has it in him. I don't.
No, he doesn't. But at least he wouldn't be able to scream as much.
Oh God, I would love that. Nami would have to tie him up. That's a good answer. So Colleen, this will be our final question. What can fans expect from One Piece Stampede?
Bigger, better, more terrifying, and at the same time, exactly what you expect. Exactly what you want and expect from One Piece, you will get from the movie.
Oh, that's a ring endorsement if I've ever heard one.
It is. I love this. I love every piece of it.
Well,
I think it's just one of. Oh, it's a terrible joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. Well, I think that will about do it. Colleen, thank you so much once again for coming on. We love having you here. We love talking to you. You're I mean, as far as we're concerned, a part of our crew. So it's always great to get together.
That's so sweet. I love you guys. You are my go-to One Piece fans. Like anytime I want to fan out, I think of you guys.
Touched. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you very much, Colleen.
Thank you. Go see the movie. Go see it.
Oh, we've got our tickets already.
Okay.
Multiple showings.
But everyone else, yeah.
Yeah, everybody else.
Starting October 24th.
24th, and the dub starts 26th. So get on it.
Yes. And then watch it again and bring a friend.
Yes.
This is our special segment for One Piece Stampede. Was this the 14th movie that's come out?
I think we're on 13th in terms of standalone full feature-length movies.
Okay, because there's that double feature in 3D, right?
Doesn't count.
That doesn't count.
Yeah, I don't count it either. I think the wiki does, but, screw the wiki, as people like to say, like me.
So, yeah, it's came out this past weekend, and how was it? What was your guys' first impressions? Because I've sort of kept myself in the dark because I don't know. I'm really hopeful that this is going to get into like American theaters, so I just want to like go into it sort of blind as much as I can. But I would like to talk with you about it.
Yeah, should we set boundaries for spoilers here for our listeners who are?
Yeah, I think like just if we're not trying not to give away the entire plot of the film, but yeah.
All right.
Who wants to start?
Maddie? Oh. Me? We've been living in Japan too long. Dozo. Okay. All right. I had not lowered, but I had expectations that were quite tame going into the film. Mm-hmm. I know that production started on the film less. Well, production on animating the film started less than about a year ago. So I was not really, in terms of animation, I kind of kept myself in check in terms of what I was expecting.
What's the runtime?
Yeah. I don't know what it is. What is it?
An hour and a half.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's your standard 90 minutes. Somebody said it's a little bit less than Gold.
That's what I was saying, because like Film Z and Film Gold were both like at least 100 minutes long.
Yeah, Film Gold felt especially long.
Gold feels really long, and that's part of my problem with Gold.
Yeah, I like most of Gold except for the bit with Ray's Max where they're like down in the depths of the casino. That seems to go on for like ages.
Slow.
Screeching halt of a movie.
Yeah.
Yep. So perfect. And I didn't know the runtime going into it, but I did lower my expectations in terms of what to expect from animation because even Zet hasn't really impressed me in terms of what it's done animation wise. I've been let down quite a few times, unfortunately, since Zet in terms of the film quality. And I guess I'm just expecting more. Maybe I'm an anime snob now. I don't know, but I expected more, and I've gotten a lot less recently, which is why I was so impressed at the consistent quality from pretty much start to finish. There's only one bit that's distracting, and that's I think on board the Sunny, and maybe one or two other locations smack in the middle of the movie. The Straw Hats are drawn very thick lined, and usually when you go back and forth like that with different styles in one piece, like the Broly film, which is like every scene Goku looks like he's drawn by a different team. Not hating on the film, but just it's very distracting. That doesn't really pop up here, and I was really surprised at how positive I came out of the film in terms of both animation, story, and action.
Right on. So, what kind of what kind of guest characters can we expect in the movie?
Oh boy, is that me or Maddie? Do you want to?
All of them. there's so like I think I don't know if it was Greg who mentioned this, but this movie is like more geared toward fans, and it's like it's less like some of the previous movies where it's really focused on the Straw Hats, and it's more focused on giving a bunch of characters a short amount of time. So you see, so many characters, and obviously like a lot of them have been revealed, Smoker and Crocodile and so and so, but and also just like cameos in the background, and so it's just fun to watch and look in the background. And like when I saw it the second time, I was just like counting as many Panda Man as I could find.
Oh, wow.
Because there's just so many. So yeah, as far as characters goes, they like just put in a lot of them, which is really fun because it's more you get to see characters who haven't interacted before or characters who haven't interacted in a long time, and it's a very different feeling I feel from the other movies, but it's really fun.
How were your first impressions when you came out of the movie? Similar to what Greg had.
Yeah, well, I mean, I went into it with really, really high expectations. I was just like super excited, but I came out of it really pleased. I think it's just a really fun movie, and I agree with Greg that the animation I think is really well done. I think it's the same studio that's been doing the Wano stuff, so it has that same kind of drawn, like the lines have that drawn quality to them.
Oh, awesome.
I also thought the 3D effects were done really well. I think they
Agreed.
Yeah, they actually look like they fit into the movie. There's a few like running crowd scenes that kind of I was like, oh, those are like obviously 3D and it looks kind of meh. But apart from that, I thought they were done really well, and they look good within the context of the movie.
Yeah, there's a weight to things in the CG in the film. I think everything up until this point, I think when they tried to be big or impressive with CG in One Piece movies, have kind of had that like Spider-Man 2, it's Rubber Man quality to them, or Spider-Man, or the original Spider-Man, rubber quality to them. And this one just, you feel the weight of large characters and how they move and how difficult it is for them to move. And when they do move with speed, it gives it all the more feeling of power and makes you feel afraid of them. I think the CG was not distracting. I am, you know me, I'll tear into the animation for its lack of quality. And there was only one scene in the whole movie where Kid's mouth kind of flaps up and down. He does the kind of Muppet thing. And other than that, I have nothing to complain about. a victory in my mind in terms of animation.
Well, in particular, I know you praised the action of the film. There's more of a focus on action than there was in previous movies.
Wow. Like Maddie was saying, you don't need to focus, since we know these characters, you don't need to focus on introducing every single person. It's, oh, why should we care about little girl or little boy X? It's because, oh, they have this tragic backstory, blah, blah, blah. There's none of that. I mean, you get a hint of that it exists for our two main villains, but there's not a lot of time spent on that compared to previous movie installments. And like Alex was saying, is like, it's just people he was saying that, it sounds fun. And that's exactly what it is. And I think that's exactly what we needed. It's having a good Otis story like Strong World or Zet or even Gold is at its heart a good story. But they're heavy and they take time. And you know what? I miss going into a movie theater and just seeing some cool action that looks good, is fun. There are characters. Like I said, my very first impression, I think you guys remember it as well, is this is the best 90s Dragon Ball Z film that I've seen.
Yeah.
It doesn't waste time on anything. There is some exposition, but it gets us to the point. And when things start, woo, they escalate and they just keep going. Right. There's no fatigue either.
Is it like a later period DBZ movie, like the second Broly movie or the Fusion movie?
It's not as lonely as the second Broly movie. It's closer in nature to the Janemba movie or movie 13, where people just start coming out of the woodwork and you're like, whoa, hey, it's him, and then he shows up and he has this scene.
That's a little bit of movie 9 as well with Gypsy Pirate Man.
Yes,
yeah. The Janemba movie I really liked because it had like, oh hey, you get to see all of these villains. They come back for like a hot sec, and
Hitler gets wrecked.
Yeah, he does. He comes back. Famous Dragon Ball Z villain Hitler. Yeah. So when you mentioned that, it made me think about that, but it also made me think about so on your old website, the 6 steps, the basically the formula for every Dragon Ball Z movie. Does it follow that? Like,
do you want to explain to the audience a little bit? I'm not sure if they've read the Ultimate DBZ info site.
Nor should they. The 6 steps, I don't remember what they were exactly, but the 6 steps were actually something that my dad came up with. And back when we were watching the Dragon Ball movies, he'd say, like, all of these movies are the same. He says they have the exact same progression. And he laid them out in the 6 steps, and somebody appears and something. I don't have them in front of me. I'm sorry, I've forgotten. Time is
well. One of the progressions that I do remember from that is Goku gets the crap beat out of him. Bad guy continues to beat the crap out of everybody else. Goku, while in the middle of Goku like powering up to do something spectacular, and then he uses that to destroy the villain.
See, I was hoping you go. Oh, here we go. Okay. The 6 steps. Goku meets incredibly powerful enemy they can't possibly beat because he or she has incredibly overwhelming power. Goku powers up but gets the living crap kicked out of him. Goku gets joined by friends and starts to kick butt. Main villain finds power inside him or her that is now 40 times better than Goku and his friends' power, and they get more crap kicked out of them. 5, Goku and everybody gets more crap kicked out of them and things looks bad. 6, Goku has everyone give him energy or he finds an incredible power inside of him that wasn't there an hour ago.
Yeah.
They're there. In slightly different form, not Pog form, but in slightly different form. Right. And I think they're an evolution of that. I think they're. And I mean, what is it? There have only been 6 original stories ever told since the beginning of stories, right? Like in terms of flow or nature, how stories go. So it's not going to rewrite the book on originality of a story. But everything that you could want out of an exciting movie to show off what these cool characters are and what they can do, it's all there. And we've been missing that in a lot of these films. You wait for the Zoro scene, you wait for the Sanji scene, and they either one-shot them or they have a victory that doesn't feel quite right. And you get a lot of that in here. You don't get, unfortunately, I'm sorry, Steve, Sanji doesn't have the greatest of scenes. but he's not underutilized compared to Zoro, I guess.
He's surprisingly tame.
He's doing
He-
Sanji thing. He's doing the gentleman protection thing.
Yeah, but he has literally zero like noodle moments. He's very gentlemanly in the entire movie.
Noodle Sanji. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, he has no lovey eyes. He's just very like he's very mature in this movie.
I noticed that too. There's so little like sexual fan service in it as well, which was such a nice, refreshing breath of air.
Isn't Hancock in this movie?
Hancock is in this movie.
Oh wow!
And she has a I don't know if that's a kimono, but she's wearing a revealing outfit, but they don't really play it up.
It sounds like she was showing more skin in the filler episodes. I don't know if you watched those TV episodes, Greg.
I heard about them. I have not watched them yet.
Well, actually, she spends most of the first episode, part of the first episode, not wearing anything at all.
See, that's amazing. There's nothing like that in here, at least that I noticed. Maybe it hit Maddie different, but like
I can't think of anything. It was it didn't have like any of that quality. I can't think of anything either.
There was one scene where Nami was like on deck and she was like holding her legs at some like weird pigeon crab leg angle, and like I'm just like, well, that's a weird way to draw Nami. I was like, but it doesn't look like offensive in any way. So
yeah, but I think part of it is because the fight started so early, so there was like no time for any of that. Like I was really, really surprised like how quickly in the movie like Bullet shows up and they start fighting him.
Yeah.
But the fight doesn't like feel dragged out or anything. It works, but it was just like we were watching it, and the only thing I wish there was a little bit more about like when they go to the island and they're like going around doing all the festivities, because they just kind of breeze past that. But yeah, you're like, oh wow, they're already fighting him, and it works out. Like it's surprising, but then it ends up being great. So
yeah, speaking to the point of all the action and stuff like that, like generally how I rate a One Piece movie is sort of it's sort of superficial, but it's also sort of based to me on like how well the the big three do their fights. And I remember the seventh One Piece movie, the Karakuri Palace, that one with the big mecha island on the turtle.
Yeah.
Sanji had Sanji to me had the best impact with his attack in that movie, and I thought that was like the best attack he's gotten in years in terms of movies. Like just as a standard Muton Shuto, and you can actually feel the impact of the attack. Whereas I don't know, sometimes in earlier movies you don't really get that. It just seems sort of like, well, that was it. And that's not. I'm speaking, of course, not just for Sanji, but also like even Zoro and Luffy. Zoro usually gets extra care put into his attacks in the movies, but yeah, that's generally how I judge a One Piece movie is based on the merit of your final attacks.
Yeah, I mentioned before, though, there isn't as much focus on the Straw Hats. You get some other characters doing some cool fights.
And I'm cool with that.
Yeah. I felt Zoro had some pretty cool moments. Like Greg mentioned before, Sanji doesn't have. He has like one good fight, but there were two fights at the like end of the movie that were literally just like one screen. Like they were just like one cell, and you see them. Oh, you're like, oh, these two characters are gonna fight. And these two characters are gonna fight, and that's it. And they didn't show any more of that fight, and I was like, But
well,
that's the only disappointing.
In their defense, I guess, is they do what they accomplish, or they do what they set out to do in those scenes, which is not necessarily to beat that person, but to delay them. And in that sense, they succeed. But you're totally on point about it not being as like refreshing. You don't see it. And you're like, because
you're like, you like see them like, hit each other, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be cool. But then it's like, oh, that was it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you did compare it to you mentioned the Broly movie earlier, and one thing about the Broly movie and its endless action that sort of, I don't know, I might be in the minority here, and I know Steve isn't installing an update or whatever, so he can't chime back at me, but for the Dragon Ball Broly movie, there is so much action in it that like I started to get really bored, because the action started getting a little samey. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It was boring. It was long, and because of its length, I got action fatigue. This is why they broke up the Battle of Winterfell at Game of Thrones, is because you can't just have complete battle for I think greater lengths than, what is it, like 15, 20 minutes. You can't go beyond that, because you just get bored, and you're just like, it's more of the same thing happening.
Right.
And
So this movie's broken up then, I guess.
this movie is broken up. I think, how did I say it? It was intro, opening, exposition, action, exposition, action, conclusion, and post-credit scene.
Post-credit scene.
Yes.
So
That's the length you get.
how did you guys feel about Bullet? What did you like about him?
Maddie.
So he's like, there's not much exposition about him in the film. You get a glimpse of it, but I actually really like that, because he's just kind of like a big, strong bad guy, and you're just like, wow, this is a really, really, it's like focusing on the fight more, so you end up getting a really cool fight out of it, and you get glimpses of the exposition, which I think are really great. And so you're just getting like a peek into his kind of character, and you're like, oh, okay, this like he's this kind of guy or something. Yeah, and I don't know, he's just like really big and powerful, and that's always fun. I think he seems like a very different villain compared to kind of the way we've had them before. So you get a different feeling of a movie from it.
I would argue that it is cookie cutter. The experience with Tesoro from Gold, it's almost exactly the same thing.
I see. Because like Tesoro had this like 5 seconds of a flashback that was like kind of like heartbreaking when you kind of get it. Like you sort of when you compare it to what's happening in the rest of the movie, it's like, oh wow, okay, that's why he's doing what he's doing. But it's literally like 5 seconds of a flashback, and I kind of wanted more of that, I guess, in Gold.
This movie answers that question. Do we want more or do we want less? And if it means more like this movie, then I guess we want less.
Yeah, I feel like it was done really artfully, because they don't go as into details as they do with Tesoro, and they do it more, rather than being like, here's his whole past. They just show like scenes between him and like other characters from the past. And so you just get more, I feel like it gives you a better glimpse into his actual character rather than telling you his whole history. You get more his like emotional background in a way, if that makes sense.
And this is why I like Zed so much, is because Zed fits all of that in there, and it really doesn't feel like it drags. Maybe a little bit on the Onsen Island, but even when Garp is literally telling us his backstory, it's entertaining. So Zed covers everything and manages to fit it in there without making you feel like story fatigue or that you're watching too much exposition. Gold just has a slow story. I think that with this one, they were like, what do we want to dedicate ourselves to with this movie? Do we want story over action, or do we want action? And they're like, well, we have all these characters. We can't, integrate them all into the backstory. So I guess maybe we should feature action. And good choice, Toei. Very good choice.
Yeah. And well, we haven't really talked about Festa, but Festa's character is just like really fun. His animation is like nuts because he's like kind of crazy. So all the scenes with Festa are just like super fun to watch.
He's not as entertaining as a Shiki or what was it, Dr. Indigo? And I don't mean the fart shoes. Yeah, I don't mean the fart shoes, but yeah, I mean those are great. But like his personality too, at Indigo is great.
Oh yeah,
all of them together are great. But he's not as entertaining as that. But like he's very bright. He's very bright. He has big connections to the what do they call them? The dark underground dealers, whatever they are.
Oh, okay.
And he's manipulative and he's a backstabber, and you get all of that. But the dude really doesn't do much. He set everything up, and you're watching his plan play out before his eyes and crumble before his eyes.
Yeah, so
And-
you just get like his reactions.
And it's interesting. I say eyes is because his eyes. I think they put extra loving care into his eyes because I haven't seen a One Piece villain that they deal with. They work with him through his eyes so much. Caesar is the closest thing because of his expressions, but that's his entire facial expression. Watch what they do with Buenafesta's eyes because it's unique how they kind of depict his descent into insanity throughout the film.
Oh wow. So he's like a Spandam.
He is like he's like a Spandam who actually has a good idea.
Yeah, he's definitely smarter than Spandam.
That's great. So Bullet he's a Gold Roger. He was on Roger's crew. That was part of the. I know that was like revealed like I guess in one of the trailers or something like that. That's like. So what's the without like I guess giving it away? What's the general plot of the movie? If that is indeed a spoiler, like if you could like I don't know like the back of the DVD cover.
General plot is the Straw Hats, and I haven't seen the television animation, but they're going to this pirate festival, the Pirate Expo, and the main event there is a search for a treasure that was on Roger's ship, and of course everyone and their mother is interested in searching for this, and they participate in it. They are, and I don't think this is too spoilery, but they have to travel up into the sky to pursue this treasure, and you don't find out what it is until maybe 3/4 of the way through the movie. I'm not sure if that's how far that is.
Might
I
be
don't know.
half.
Might be half. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's wonderful about it is at one point, I think even Bullet says, inside this treasure chest, he's like, inside this treasure chest lies the One Piece, and like you could almost hear the
Well, they cut out all the audio too during that part. It's just like, whoom.
yeah, like you could just hear the audience be like, oh my god, are they gonna? And
It's
you find out
a
what it
movie
was.
because so no, they're not. But you know, they got you.
Yeah.
He's telling the truth, and it's
Right.
It's somewhat
It's
somewhat
clever.
deceptive, but
But yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, it's a movie, so you know it's going to be self-contained, but the story, you know, it doesn't feel like an outside story. It's ingrained, like I feel like the themes and everything are ingrained enough that it's not like that separate.
and so we have this fantastic treasure that is our MacGuffin for the film, and it has been used against the pirates and the Marines to gather them all in one location to try and eliminate them, or at least create this enormous conflict that ushers in a new era for at least one person, at least one of our villains, an exciting era that ignites the entire world, and that's what lies at the heart of this villain's goals. As far as our other villain, he is just interested in being the strongest, and because of how he's been screwed over royally his entire life, he does not trust anyone, and he believes in the strength of the self. And well, I know a certain 19-year-old with a straw hat who believes exactly the opposite of that, and that's the polar opposite of his core character. So obviously, those two aren't going to get along very well.
So who's like a character that you guys weren't expecting to see in this movie that like stole a scene?
Do you want us to say that? Like, I feel like that might be like that might give away some fun stuff.
Oh well, if you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to say anything.
I'll say I'll go ahead and say that I went in expecting to see everyone, and by everyone I mean everyone.
It's a Pirates
I mean,
Festival, so
yeah.
I mean, and well, An is there, so I figured I don't know. Like, I know what An's power is. I've seen Phantom on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
So
I feel like but there's I don't know, like there's a chance that anybody and everybody could show up. That's sort of like where my mind is at.
we were just talking about it, the 30-minute double feature, One Piece Mugiwara Chase film.
Yeah.
The I guess antagonist, he's not really evil, but he and his dog are in the background, and that was just like, oh wow, you guys haven't forgotten. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. There's like Jonathan's in the background. Like a lot of characters you just see.
There's
see,
some
like,
Mr. Seven love.
Mr. Seven.
Yeah,
Wow.
Mr. Seven and Miss Monday and their baby.
Oh, Mr. Nine, you mean?
Excuse me, Mr. Nine. Excuse me, Mr. Seven. Mr. Nine.
I do like Mr. I like Mr. Nine, contrary to other people. But yeah, that's their baby too. Wow, that's got to be the first time they've shown up in an animated thing.
So those
yeah, and as far as like characters who really like stood out though, like Greg, I know has talked about this too, but like Hancock is amazing in this whole movie. Like both her lines and her interactions with characters, and also she gets some cool fights. So that was really awesome to see Hancock get that much cool screen time.
I actually, in the movie theater, there was one point where Hancock pulls off a certain attack, and pardon my French, I actually had to say, Jesus effing Christ, out loud, because it's incredible her what she does. Like just knowing power balance, and that they would allow for this to occur, shows that like she is the pirate empress for a reason. She is so badass, and we unfortunately have not gotten to see that in the comic. So seeing that here was really refreshing, and like to see her go from that to the polar opposite with Luffy, where it's just like there are scenes where like it goes to every character. Like there's you get reactions to Luffy from each character, and of course the guys are like, huh. Law's like, and everybody's like, and it just cuts to her, and you hear, and then it cuts again immediately. It's so perfect.
Yeah, she's seriously the star of this film. I loved her so much.
That's really heartening to hear. I do love from the color spread what she is wearing. It is pretty cool. With like black and white.
Yeah. She's definitely
color
like.
Spread also represents a little bit about what this is about. I mean, you've got villains, friends, people on opposite sides coming together, working against something, at the top, and then at the bottom alone, you have Douglas, and that's pretty much what it's about.
Sort of, that's like kind of how I envision the last final battle in One Piece to be like. This giant, like, well, I wouldn't say like versus one person. I mean, it could go that way, but I was more thinking of a like, factions versus factions, like no holds barred battle.
Before we even get there, let's just say that Oda has his work cut out for him with Kaido.
Oh,
he has a lot. He has to be on point to outdo this for Kaido. And I'm not saying in terms of overall excitement and how refreshing it is when you see him finally beat. But I mean, in terms of what was put on quality here, it's good. If I wanted it to be a team up, if I had a dream for like a team up on one big villain for a movie fight, a movie length fight, this would be it. This is it.
Oh. So, what can we expect comedy wise from this movie? I mean, you got a rogues gallery of people in there. You got Straw Hats, but Buggy seems to be forefront there.
Yeah, no, the Buggy has a lot of great moments. Especially because I don't know, it's like it's kind of similar to the way like Hancock is, because you have all these, except Hancock is like cool during these moments. It's like all these cool people being cool, and then Buggy being a doofus in the background. So Buggy gets a lot of screen time, and which I thought was great because I think he's hilarious. I thought there was a pretty good amount of comedy. Like I thought it was really funny at certain points. Kind of throughout the whole movie, you just get like little laughs here and there. Like, it's definitely, like we said, it's action focused, but there's a substantial amount of comedy, and I found myself laughing aloud multiple times.
Buggy, yeah. If Hancock is the queen of comedy, then Buggy is the king of comedy here. This movie format is so wonderful because they don't get a chance to run any of his jokes into the ground, and everything that he's in is unique, refreshing, and funny. He has maybe one of the best scenes in the film. The reasons for seeing this film in a theater. I don't know if you know what scene I'm talking about, Maddie, but like the sound is just like the rumble, and is perfect in this scene. And I'm so glad that we were able to see it in theaters. I hope people around the world are able to do the same. And I think the best line in the movie, and I mentioned this on Twitter, but in terms of comedy, the best line for me goes to Nami, in response to seeing a certain character and their ship for the very first time, is just perfect. It's on par with Robin's "Imi ga wakaranai wa" in Film Gold. Do you guys happen to know what she said in English when she sees Dice, when he does his shtick?
Oh man, God, I don't. So I know what you're talking about, and it is a funny line. It's like a weirdly funny line from Robin. God, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I think Steve or Ed could probably know more than I would.
Yeah, I don't remember what the line was.
It's been a minute. You said Robin, right?
Yeah, when she sees Dice in Film Gold, and she says, "Yeah, I don't remember."
I think wasn't she the one that pointed out like on how unnecessary the dice rolling was?
Oh yeah. She says what he didn't even need the dice, something like that.
Yeah. Oh, damn it! It's she literally says like the Japanese equivalent of like WTF, which freaking killed me. And that Nami gets that line in this movie, reacting to a certain character. It's beautiful.
To be honest, if Robin in an English version of One Piece said WTF or "Oh wow, that he sure got pwned," I think I would die a little inside.
That's really good.
Yeah. So I guess any more questions or?
Not so much about the movie itself, but I remember when you came on to talk about Film Gold, they really went in on the promotion for that movie. It was everywhere. They did everything they could to get the word out, and it didn't quite deliver how they wanted it to. I'm curious what it was like for Stampede this year. Did you feel like did they hold back from promoting it as much? Or was it about the same? Because they were certainly promoting it, but did they do you feel like they learned their lesson at all from Film Gold, or was it same old?
I do. I think they dialed it back a notch. In terms of some of the promotional stuff, I mean, it's all there. There's a freaking 7-Eleven man in the movie. So
wait, what?
he's in the new One Piece magazine. What is his name? I think it's like Lucky 7 or something, and he's got a big 7 on his chest, and they're like, it's 7-Eleven man. So like all the
what's next? Are we gonna have like the Noid show up in One Piece?
Here it is. Captain 7. Yes, Captain 7.
Wow.
But to his credit, he kind of has the 7-Eleven colors, but there's no 11. It's not distracting. It looks like somebody Oda would draw, so I forgive it.
Mm-hmm.
The famous voice actors and characters are there. There are YouTubers who are in it, which is
Are they the YouTubers that were featured in the last issue of the magazine?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we went over that in the magazine review this episode as well. So Steven actually went through that because that manga in volume 6 was pretty funny.
Yeah. So they're in there. Who else is in it? Oh, there's Okay, this is the one bit of controversy that has kind of lit up people in Japan, got them a little bit out of sorts, is that they have taken a former, I think she's an AKB, she might be an AK something, I don't know, Maddie, if you're up on this, but she's the voice actress for Anne in the movie, and I'm going to call her Anne, it's on, but I'm just going to call her Anne, because I'm from Northwest Jersey, and people didn't like that because she was voiced by a different actress for her main appearance in the One Piece Tower show.
Oh wow.
And that screams a little bit too much of cross promotion, and that's a shame. But she doesn't sing in the film, which I guess is why fans can forgive it. But a lot of people were upset that they just picked someone more famous to do the voice acting for that.
Mhm.
Rightfully so. I don't disagree. I think that's a little bit cheesy, but compared to everything that they did for Gold, I mean, freaking flying the entire cast to Dubai for a premiere. Yeah.
At a palace, no less.
I assume it was the Emirati government paying for that.
We can only
You can only hope.
ponder that, but yeah. They definitely dialed it back, and I'm glad they did. Because it feels more genuine.
Mm-hmm. All right. Is there anything else you guys wanted to mention before we wrap this up?
I think I asked you this on Twitter, Greg, but I want to ask you again on the podcast proper. I think I'm noticing this with just a lot of like not maybe just shown in series like movies, but I feel like, and maybe I just never realized it growing up being a Dragon Ball fan watching the movies, but these really cater to the fans, and I think you even said that at the beginning of this segment, where it's just, oh, and then this character shows up, and then this character, you remember him, and everyone's cheering. I do have some friends, and I know of one in particular that went to go see Film Gold thinking like, oh no, it's a standalone story, I'll be fine, and then like Sabo and Lucci are here, and he has no idea who they are. I'm just curious if, because the way Stampede's been promoted, it was just like, hey, you like cameos of people from the series? Well, you're gonna get like shit tons of that. Do you still feel like this is kind of like, yeah, this is a movie for One Piece fans? If you're not a One Piece fan and you're curious, you're gonna get lost. But like, what do you say to that?
Yeah, it depends what your expectations are going into it. Are you expecting this? Are you expecting what is it? Tenki no Ko, Weather Girl, whatever it's called, or what is your name, or I don't know, whatever.
Weathering You, I think, is the English name for that.
Weathering You, yeah. If you're expecting that kind of story from this, then please go watch another movie, because this will confuse the hell out of you. If you're like, hey, I'm wondering what this One Piece series is about. I've seen this guy smiling like a goofy doofus, and but people tell me it's badass. Maybe I'll give it a chance. This is the movie for that person, because you'll see these characters and you'll be like, oh my god, what is he doing? It was like when I saw Dragon Ball Z movie 13. I didn't know who. It's not half the cast, but like, let's say I couldn't recognize half the cast of the movie just because I didn't know that people grew up. I didn't know what time it took place, et cetera, et cetera. And I was just like, who the hell is this? What the hell is that? And, Vegeta shows up, you destroyed my freaking house. And, gets a few punches in. And this is that movie for the people who have an open mind, want to get a taste of what One Piece can be like. And when you see it, you can either say, I'm confused, or you can say, that was cool. I wish I knew more about this character or that character, to see, what they can actually do and get their story. Because that's what's good about almost every character in the movie, in the speaking character in the movie, is that, yeah, they do have a full fleshed out story in the manga. It's there waiting for you. Just go read it. And I think that is a great promotional device, and as a story device, just to allow them to tell the freest, most exciting story they could. And they did it. They, I think, achieved that goal.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Stampede spoiler-filled discussion. I'm Steve here, and I'm joined by Sam, of course, host of our anime recap and anime reviewer on ANN. I'm sure there's a better term for that.
No, that's about right.
Okay. And of course, we're also joined by our good friend, I think for the first time ever on the podcast, because he hasn't corrected us, Adil. Adil, how's it going?
Hey, everything is fine. Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, we're happy to have you on as well. Adil helps us out on our social media and our website. I believe that's what you do, right?
Yeah, mostly just Twitter and checking if there's anything new or happening in the One Piece world.
Much appreciated, because this is, as of this recording, it's been quite a busy week for us. So,
yeah, it's been fun.
So, One Piece Stampede, the latest One Piece film, is, by the time you hear this, has been released in U.S. theaters, a limited release. This film came out in early August in Japan, and within no time we're getting it. I can't help but comment on how quick of a turnaround this is, how surprised I am, considering how Film Gold took about half a year.
Yeah, I think it debuted in Japan in July, and I think US got it in January.
What was the distance between Film Z's Japanese release and its English release?
Well, Film Z was released in the end of 2012. I think
it was like at least a year, wasn't it? It was, it was like multiple years, wasn't it? Like
I almost want to say it was 2014, because I think the last Otakon I went to before I moved was the one where a bunch of us were there to watch the dub premiere. So I want to say it took 2 years.
Yeah, it's 14. It took 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. After the Broly movie, like that's a real turnaround.
Yeah, Broly was like instant, but Dragon Ball is just
right. There's not that
huge
with One
everywhere. Piece. Yeah. But this movie's it's a big deal in Japan. I'm trying to think of like what record it broke. It's the highest grossing something. I'm not sure if it's
highest grossing film of all time.
I don't know.
Maybe it was like ticket sales, I think.
Yeah, it did break records. Like I'm trying to think if it's the highest grossing anime film in Japan, or if that, or if it's just like based off of an existing property.
Your Name is the highest grossing, isn't it?
Yeah, it might be. Let's see. I'm checking Wikipedia. It said the film saw the largest first day attendance in Japan in 2019 and opened at number 1 in the Japanese box office, earning, let's see here, about $15.64 million in US dollars. In its first 4 days, film sold 2.31 million tickets in 9 days, earning US dollars 28.7 million, making it the fastest toy distributed film to reach 3 billion yen since 2000. As of August 25th, 2019, the movie has earned, over 4 million. No, it's not. No, 4 billion. I'm doing a Luffy here. I'm reading the one pages wrong. Yeah, and in just 17 days, as of September, that's just how much it made. Okay, it broke some sort of records. It was huge. I was shocked by how big this was, and I think. Sorry, we're not even talking about the movie yet, but I think. Do you remember? Like, I think it was getting around some on Twitter, like in the first few days, like, oh, it's not making that much money.
Yeah, I do remember hearing something like that.
Mm-hmm. And
but the actual,
and then
give it a few days and you find out the real numbers.
Yeah, like people were saying, oh, it's not making a lot of money, and then I think it was maybe that I think there's something about that Monday that people had off or something, and people started going and seeing the movie that following Monday, and that's when it just blew up. Yeah, this movie was huge, and it outperformed Film Gold like tremendously. Like,
yeah, Gold was the underwhelming one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
As far as box office goes,
a lot of hype, a lot of promotion, and I think Greg said back then when
Pokemon
Film Gold
Go
came out, so did Pokemon Go, and people could discredit all they want. I think Greg is onto something. I think people were very inspired to just be on their phones playing this game and walking around everywhere but sitting in the movie theater. So I think Pokemon Go took the hype away from Film Gold.
In the same way, you can't release a Dragon Quest on the weekdays. You can't release a One Piece movie on a Pokemon day.
Exactly. But Film Gold was then. This is now Stampede. General thoughts, Sam. You've seen it the most because you got a nice screener.
I got a screener copy. I am fairly mixed. I think that I think it looks great. There are at least 3 separate fight scenes that are among the best animated fight scenes I've ever seen. And the story overall is fairly underwhelming, which I think is to be expected since it's not one of the quote unquote One Piece film movies. So the story is not going to be as it's not going to be as it's not coming from Oda the same way.
Yeah, I just noticed that, but I was like, oh yeah, it's not called One Piece Film Stampede.
Yeah,
crazy. But please continue if you have more.
Yeah, I just think that the general kind of arc of the movie, where it starts out so exciting and colorful, and it's all crowd shots, oh, who's there? You're trying to spot all the cameos you can. And once you reach the second half of the movie, and it's all one big giant battle in the middle of a big desert with a Sumerian rat monkey CGI monster, that's where it really kind of let me down. And I think that my biggest problem is I just don't think the villains are very interesting in the end. It was cool when Douglas Bullet first shows up and he's kicking everyone's asses, but the more he talks, the more it's just man, you don't have a whole lot to say, do you?
Said plenty there. Adil, why don't you chime in here? I'm curious what you have to say.
I think it entertained me more than Gold because I felt like the Zoro was very similar to Dofi, and we already had Dressrosa at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So Gold was kind of underwhelming for me, but I think in terms of action and in terms of characters, of course, I think Stampede is much better. But I think in terms of music, I find it lackluster. It was not that good, I think.
Well, especially after how that was definitely Gold's strong suit, was music.
Definitely. Yeah, and Bullet is kind of I think the selling point was the returning characters. It's not about the villain. Yeah.
All right.
Steve.
I feel like I'm kind of. I think Adil brought up some really good points, and I definitely want to get into those a little bit more. But I think Sam and I are very kindred spirits with this movie. I'll say right off the bat, I think the most negative thing I could say about the movie is that of the recent One Piece films since Strong World, and I guess not including that CG movie that none of us have seen, but I think counts. So
some people count it.
It's I think it should be counted because if we count movies 1 through 3, which played alongside Digimon movies, I think we have to include that CG movie. But nobody's ever seen
after Strong World or between Strong World and Z.
Yeah, but of all the movies, not including that one because I haven't seen it, this one's my least favorite.
Yeah, of the recent stuff.
Yes. Not saying it's a bad movie. It is fun as hell. It's a lot of fun, but how could I describe it? It is very fan servicey, and not in the perverted way. It almost feels like a video game. Hey, we're giving you all these characters. It's like Smash Bros. Ultimate. It's you know what, we're giving you all these characters, and they're just already available.
I referenced Super Smash Brothers in my ANN review.
I think we're all guilty of saying everyone is here.
Well, and the fun of pointing out references and stuff like that. We make jokes about people who watch stand-up comedies or watch sitcoms and they laugh at a joke just because they get the reference, not really because the joke is funny.
I'd say other than that yeah, this is some of the best that One Piece has ever looked. quite possibly the best animated movie. Except but that's comparing that Baron Omatsuri, and that's that might be a very subjective.
Yeah, they're two
approach,
very
but-
different flavors. They're like they're very like almost perfect in the directions that they go, but they go in very different directions.
But this is I've described to some people as One Piece Broly, because that's how it feels. It feels like awesome animation, not the most in-depth plot, big muscly supervillain, and just a lot of fighting.
See, but I find I thought the Broly movie, like from like as simple as simple and like kind of absent as the story is, I think it gets more mileage out of how little story it has.
Yeah, I think I like the whole flashback with Planet Vegeta and just establishing just like the relationship with Frieza and the Saiyans, despite that kind of, I don't know, it kind of not really meaning much later in the movie. Like Paragus' spoilers if you haven't seen Broly. If you haven't, like, Paragus' death, it kind of feels confusing in the context of the movie, because I think Paragus was coming off as like, an abusive father, but then when he gets killed, Broly still gets angry about it.
He's got complicated feelings.
Yeah, but this movie, I think like the setup of it is just like a big pirates festival, and it's like, you know what? It's awesome. It's awesome to see the One Piece characters be in that environment and feel like pirates.
Yeah,
for once.
I wish the whole movie was a festival. Is kind of my problem. Like the festival gets the story started. It gets all the characters in one place, but then the actual movie is just like everyone teaming up against a bullet.
And of course, like Law is the one to find out that there's. We're getting to spoiler territory now, by the way. So I just thought we'd get our general thoughts out of the way in case you were curious.
And I guess before we go into spoilers, there is a lot of before we get into specifics. There's
Sure.
one of the big mysteries, one of the big hooks that they're advertising with this movie is that the prize of the movie is a treasure of Gold Rogers.
Oh yeah,
and when they revealed what that treasure was, at once I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. But I also knew exactly what Luffy was going to do with it when he got it.
Yeah,
it's very predictable.
Me too. Like if you're very familiar with the series, there's some beats that they're going to get repeated in this. And as soon as I found out that's what the treasure was, I'm like, oh, well, Luffy's obviously going to do this. And I remember the one guy sitting in front of me at the preview screening. I don't know if it's people just getting into it, but he was just like, "Are you serious?" And I was just like, I almost want to be like, "Bitch, please, have you seen One Piece?"
I think
Luffy's made his opinions very clear.
Yes,
he did something like this during Alabasta, right? When Robin gave him an eternal pose, and
Okay, we're heading to spoilers now. Okay, so before we blab what it is, no, it's okay. But it's like those are our general thoughts in case you're curious and didn't want to spoil yourself. Move on. But now we're getting to spoilers. Spoiler time. Yeah, the treasure was log pose to Laugh-Tale, better known as Raftel. Do they still call it you saw the dub, right?
They call it Laugh-Tale in the dub.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's because they've been calling it Raftel in the series for like this whole time.
The sub had it as Raftel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay. For German subs, it was, I think, Laugh-Tale. They also used Laugh-Tale, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's been it's confusing, especially when it's just there broad. And again, I think, man, I'm trying to think of how many characters have actually said Raftel in the story up till this point, in like at least where the dub is. Like I think Zeph, Crocus. Maybe Rayleigh.
Yeah, it probably came up in Rayleigh's bar.
Yeah, I think that's such a great. I mean, knowing One Piece, that was like, oh, this is perfect. And I really like the ending of the film. I forget if it was post credits or not, but when one of the Roger pirates is like, oh, I just thought we'd log this in case we have to go back, and Roger's like, we ain't going back, and he chucked it.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts.
Well. I think it just works so well. I think it's a great plot device that doesn't mess with the canon. And also, this movie is not canon. I feel like I have this conversation a lot with people, and I mean, I don't blame them. It's kind of confusing, but none of the One Piece movies are canon.
Right. I mean, like with the recent film movies, I personally choose to I pick and choose which parts I think are canon. Like I definitely think Zed/Zephyr is a character who exists in the background somewhere.
Same as Shiki. Like people say, like, oh,
that one is canon.
Yeah, like Shiki was brought up in Impel Down. I'm like, yeah, and I say nicely. It's like I try not to be condescending. I'm like, yeah, Shiki's totally a canon character, but the Straw Hat's interaction with him is non-canon.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and this movie plays like one of the One Piece film, like one of the Oda produced / sometimes written One Piece movies. Because you've got Bullet, who, you know, him being straight up a member from Rogers Pirates feels pretty significant.
And may I add, I found this out in the Colleen interview. I don't know if you picked up on it, but apparently it's pronounced bullet, like mullet.
Really? I did not pick it up in the.
You didn't pick up on that in the dub? I know, like Colleen, like definitely like pointed that out to us. So, yeah, just keep your ears open for that.
When someone's shouting bullet, it doesn't really sound different than bullet.
Yeah, it's probably like it's
more of a which region of the country are we using the accent?
It's like a mantra thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, I think like this Pirates Festival is totally like a not what it seems kind of thing, and of course, Law's the first character to kind of establish that.
Sadly, none of the other Heart Pirates.
Yeah. Shame. Not even like
maybe they were in one of the crowd shots, but Law just
only
kind of
see-
sneaks up on the Sunny like Robin did, basically.
Yes. You were gonna say, Adil?
I think we only see them in the credits. I think Beppo is hugging Law and.
Oh yeah. I'm going off of memory. It's been almost like 2 weeks since I've seen it. But yeah, it's not everything as it seems. And I'm harping back to canon real quick. There's no way this movie could take place in canon because the Straw Hats have not fully reunited since the end of Punk Hazard.
And yet Luffy has his 1.5 billion bounty, and
the
Snake
Warlords,
Man,
Warlords are still a thing.
No Weevil in this movie, though.
No Weevil.
None of the Emperors for the most part, except for that little bit of Blackbeard.
Oh yeah, the whole opening shot of this movie is a flashback to Impel Down, which also kind of this could totally happen in canon, but it didn't happen. But I'm curious at all. What do you think about Chris Rager's performance as Blackbeard?
Really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it was announced that he was going to be Blackbeard, I remember thinking, like, because it's a very similar voice already, the sort of Mr. Satan Arlong voice to Blackbeard. But like with Arlong, I think that the Mr. Satan comes out a little too much for my taste. But with Blackbeard, he's like putting on so much of that like piratey, jargony stuff. It's very close to Cole Brown.
Yeah, Cole Brown's performance I really enjoyed. I always found it very interesting. He had a very southern kind of twang to his voice, which just fit perfectly with the character. And I'm guessing he still does the "zay ha ha" laugh and all that.
Yeah, and it sounds good.
Great. I'm looking forward. I like that little instance in the beginning. Like it wasn't like overly animated, but just some of the movements. I remember just like the way like Lafitte and Burgess were moving around. I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the only time we're gonna see Blackbeard in this movie.
Just a flashback to because Bullet was in level 6 Impel Down at the time.
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure if I understood what was going on. They left him in prison. Like all the prisoners fought each other and killed each other.
Yeah.
Blackbeard noticed that Bullet was there. He's like, "Oh, that guy, huh? Leave him there.
Yeah.
Leave him to his own devices." So I don't know if he like got out after that or.
Yeah, like was he also like? I'm guessing he had to have escaped at the same time.
Yeah, I guess Blackbeard gave him the opening, but Blackbeard wasn't interested in recruiting him.
Exactly. That works well with this. But yeah, like the Pirates Festival stuff is just a lot of fun, very goofy. It's I've only seen movie 4 once, but I think a lot of people This reminded them of Dead End Adventure, with that kind of like, if I could vaguely remember what kind of Pirates Festival that was. I just remember a lot of, like, there was a race. It's,
the kind of the opening part, or I guess the entirety of the festival really is they've got an island in the sky. They've kind of like made their own like sky island. And
they had their own what's the water stream that shoots up?
Yeah, the knock-up stream.
Knock-up stream, yes.
It's like propelling this island up in the air in this like bubble. And I think because there's that Anne girl from the what's that stage show?
Yeah,
whose powers she can like make things from pictures or something like that.
Yeah, she's in the current show Marionette, and she was in the previous one Phantom, and that's what she does. She can make a phantom out of seeing like an image of something. Feels like she's really tacked on here, though.
Yeah, I remember when like she was being shown off in like the trailers and stuff, and like the whole connection with like, you know, oh, Anne was gonna be Ace's name if he was a girl, so like they're kind of thematically tied and yada yada. But like she's here for like she's here just for like a little punchline at the end, basically. Like that's when they use her.
I think she was just cheering for the most part, right?
Yeah,
she was just kind of hanging out.
She's very entertaining in it, but like they're like, oh, by the way, she also has the devil fruit power to do this. Just thought you should know.
just let you know, because it's gonna come back in a scene that's not really that important, but it's a nice little thing.
Yeah, Greg posting all that stuff on Twitter, I knew right away. I'm like, oh, so we're gonna see Ace at the end of this. Thankfully, I think it was done well. It wasn't so like it's not like he stuck like this image of Ace stuck around for a while. I like how when it cuts to Sabo doing the attack, like you see Ace, but then he kind of just fades away as the camera sets in on it. I thought that was the final kind of one of the final things of the movie is, you know, the fight's ending, everyone's kind of going their separate ways. I think the Marines are like on the Straw Hat's tail, and there's like a big giant fire fist, and it's like it's Sabo and like a phantom Ace together. Yeah. I kind of liked it because it made me very nostalgic for like the beginning of Alabasta with Ace taking out the
that's true.
The Baroque work ships.
Speaking of Sabo,
yeah. Oh, we should get into this. Yeah,
he's got a new voice.
He does. Sam, go ahead.
So Sabo is now being played by. So I was waiting for Sabo to show up because I was very interested in what they were going to do here. Sabo is now being played by Johnny Young Bosch, aka Ichigo from Bleach, Bash the Stampede from Trigun. I could tell pretty much immediately he sounds he's just doing his Johnny Young Bosch voice.
Yeah.
But it hit me just like immediately how much better of a choice that is, because with Sabo, like when in the story, when Sabo comes back as an adult, you kind of need to have this like, oh, Sabo, you're all grown up, and like you're wiping tears from your eyes because it's beautiful that he's still alive and he's been growing up all these years. So it's really important that we have a Sabo who sounds like an adult. Yeah.
Shade. But no, I'm looking forward to
he's really good.
Hearing this performance. Yeah.
I mean, he sounds exactly like you imagine he sounds, but
yeah,
it's a good fit.
It's like Johnny Young Bosch talking like Johnny Young Bosch, but Johnny Young Bosch is a good actor, so it doesn't matter if he's putting on like a new voice. It's what he brings to the table and what he brings to this character. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. Like what else do I want to talk about with this movie? Because it's very bare bones plot. I'm actually, one thing I feel very different about this movie is like One Piece, not only the films, but like actual arcs tend to slow down a lot in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually filled with a lot of exposition. This one, the main fight starts in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
And then we get like exposition towards the end of Act 2, or you could say the beginning of Act 3 with the Navy.
The start of like the final battle and like the exposition with the Navy, those kind of coincide. Like the Navy stuff is pretty close to the middle, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty brief. It gets kind of just the basic beats that you need to hear. Just kind of explaining that Bullet, what do you do? As a kid, he he was responsible for some big incident that killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
He wants to be the strongest in the world, and he challenged Roger, and Roger beat him and recruited him as a result. And I guess Bullet was always like picking fights with Roger, and he like really liked having that was the closest thing he had to a friend, basically.
Yeah, and a rival.
Yeah, and a rival. And then when Roger died, Bullet kind of like lost the one friend that he cared about, and now he's like his whole deal is that he just hates friendship. Like it's weird. I mean, it's naked, you know. Like, oh, One Piece is about friendship. So what's the antithesis of Luffy? Oh, a guy who just really hates friendship.
But I feel like we've like dealt with that already with like East Blue villains. You know, that's so early one. He does feel like a very basic character. I think a lot of my criticism of it comes from I'll say this. I think I'm kind of in a minority here. I really liked Film Gold for multiple reasons.
This movie made me appreciate some things about Film Gold that I took for granted the first time around.
I really like Tesoro as a villain.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like. I think even when we got his tiny little flashback in that movie, because we also get like the same thing with Bullet.
Yes, I thought so too.
Though I think the Tesoro one's much more brief, and I think people are like, "Well, why even include that?" And I was like, "What? That thing went on for like a minute, and I felt so much like it got so much across in that short amount of time." Yes. I liked how Tesoro had much more of an interesting story where he was poor. He fell in love with a girl who was a slave, and he wanted to make money so he could buy her and free her. And of course he couldn't. And that just warped his whole worldview, and just thinking like, well, in order to be powerful, you have to be rich, you know. And then like, of course, he just becomes.
It says a lot with a little.
Yeah, and now he doesn't care about people. He doesn't value people. Only it's just for like what they're worth. And if you're not as if you don't have as much wealth as he does, you're nothing.
Yeah, and and you're right too. They do something very similar with Bullet. I thought Bullet and Buena Vista together, they just kind of felt like they were Shiki, Zed, and Tesoro, like kind of rolled into like a pair.
Yeah.
But with I think kind of where Bullet works if what you're cool with is just like a movie where Stampede is kind of addressing like the most broad themes that One Piece has. Like the final battle, like Luffy's basically giving the speech he gave to Arlong, where he's like, I never would have made it this far without friends, and neither would you. There can be beauty in simplicity, but like what Bullet doesn't do for me, what most One Piece villains are really good about is their motivations are ultimately really simple, but like they're just like so familiar to like humans. Like, oh, this guy is greedy. This guy is trying to like maintain this regime he's built, and he doesn't want it to get destroyed. But Bullet he's an anime villain before he's like a human villain.
Yeah.
Like his political or his ideology is, I want to be the strongest in the world. Friendship sucks, and you suck for liking it.
I have a hard time imagining this guy on Roger's crew. We barely know anything about Roger's crew, but I think Roger is definitely. I think when we find out more and more about Roger, he's definitely at least
he seems darker than as we get to know him.
Yeah, like he I feel like people probably went up to Roger and like, what do you see in this guy? Why is he hang out with us?
I do think that's like the one little moment of humanity we get from Bullet, where Luffy is basically landing the final blow, and Bullet is like we have a very brief flashback where Bullet is remembering a time that he lost to Roger, and like Roger's kind of being kind of a shyster about it, like, oh, you never learn, do you, Bullet? But like you, I love a good fight. Like it's just like their desire to fight is something that they kind of connect to each other on.
Yeah.
And the fact that Roger could always beat Bullet probably meant that he could keep Bullet in check at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just, and I gotta admit, like I felt like I felt the length of this movie. I think like halfway through it, I was like, I get that feeling that I don't like having during a movie. It's like, all right, come on, let's start to wrap this up.
I think what.
Go ahead, Adil.
Sorry. I think one of the problems, I think in terms of animation, was Bullet's transformation was too CGI heavy.
Oh yeah,
I think it was too much.
It's like a mech, but then like it just turns into like a weird, like dirty demon monster thing.
Yeah, and there's all those like purple effects. It reminded me of the villain from the My Hero movie.
Oh, I haven't even seen that one yet.
Oh no? Yeah, I kind of like. I remember that final battle. I see a lot of parallels in terms of just aesthetic. But Adil, you were going to say something else?
Yeah, I think it didn't kind of mix. It did not mix with the I think cartoonish style of One Piece. Like there's Luffy in Snake Man form on one side, and there's this CGI villain, and yeah, it was not. I think not good.
Yeah, he becomes like this big, like earthy, dark creature.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks like the Sumerian rat monkey from Dead Alive. That's what I thought he looked like.
I cannot comment on that. I don't know what that is, but
except he's like darker. I think the rat monkey was like.
I think it's kind of a little dark, and I think it does kind of clash with the tone of of One Piece, but I think it's like I especially, this is definitely no Film Z where you have such a developed antagonist, and I think this one I think I even talked to Greg when I was talking after I saw the movie. I decided to hit him up, and maybe Greg said this, or maybe just another friend said this, that like I think just after these heavy stories in Film Z and in Gold, and when Gold underperforms, I think they're like, let's go back to basics. Let's just have just straight up just One Piece movie. Let's not get too like into like a story here. Let's just make it fun. Let's just have all of these characters that people know and love just make appearances and do crazy things, and people will enjoy it. And who am I to say they're wrong, because this movie performed so well. And even when I went to the screening, people were enjoying it. I think I was just enjoying different things. I think I just, I'm such a long-term One Piece fan. I'm way more into just the story developments now than just just balls to the wall action. Though I did like the Broly movie, but I think I went in there expecting that when I didn't necessarily go into Stampede expecting that. You want to talk about Buena Festa a little bit?
There's not too much. Like, I don't understand why he's in the movie, honestly. Like, I don't understand why it has to be two villains. Because it feels like a Spandam Lucci or like a Babidi Boo. Like, oh, here, this weak guy is the brains, and then you got like you got Bullet, who's the brawn. But like, it doesn't really change much. And Buena Festa doesn't have. He doesn't add a whole lot. Like his whole deal is he wants to start a new age to like that's better than Roger's age, I guess.
I think he wants to like wipe out like the pirate era and just start like a new age of chaos, I think.
Yeah.
If I can remember correctly.
Who knows?
The deal?
He was just kind of there. I think it was just all talk, and Bullet was the one that was doing stuff.
He does get one good scene where he's like laughing maniacally and his eyes are like bugging out and he's smacking his head on the table.
He's a ham. I think that's like, at least like he brings charisma into like the villain side of the movie.
He's so whiny in the dub though.
Is he?
He just like has kind of an annoying voice.
Well, he looks like a goof.
Yeah.
I think Usopp got a nice scene in the movie. No.
Okay. My favorite part of this entire movie is Usopp.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I think most people. I think people are just like, oh, that was cool when like Luffy did this or H showed up and like the action stuff. I'm like, no, my favorite part was Usopp having a fucking character arc in this movie. I loved it. See, that's what I want. And I think the problem with a lot of the One Piece movies is they only have so much time. So really, of course, Luffy gets, the most screen time, and Zoro and Sanji get fights. And this one kind of does things differently. Zoro and Sanji's roles are very minimal. And yeah, Usopp kind of has what's it similar to? I think it feels like a combination of his fight with Chu, his fight with Miss Merry Christmas and Mr. Four, and like a little bit of Enies Lobby. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think so. I think it felt more similar to the Alabasta one.
Yeah, he sticking up for Luffy, and then just the whole I'm not strong enough. I can't do anything.
Accepting his role as support.
Yes.
Which then ties into the whole Luffy's like, hey, I recognize that I'm here because I have help.
Mm-hmm. I was just so thankful for when like they escaped Bullet. And I think like the burning, just those like houses that are on fire, they're starting to like topple, and like that one column came down, and I thought, oh God, please don't let it be Sabo that comes in here and saves them. And to see that like Usopp like got up and held up this like pillar, this column that's on fire protecting Luffy, I was like, thank God. And then when the whole house was coming down, I'm like, okay, this is when Sabo shows up. And then when it was Brook and like Chopper instead, I was like, yes. Let the Straw Hats do more stuff. I was thankful for that. I mean, no offense to Sabo. It's just like I don't want him becoming like the Piccolo of like Dragon Ball movies where he just shows up when it's convenient to save Gohan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, that's my favorite part of this entire movie. And I remember I was taking the metro. I was taking the metro back from Hollywood. And this guy noticed I came from the film. He was just like, "Oh, it's like," he was talking to me. He's like, "Oh, you came from the One Piece movie?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "Did you like it?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was a little sheepish in a way. It's like, he's like, "I liked it a lot." I'm like, "What was your favorite part?" He was like, "Oh, I just liked everything." And I wanted to be like, "Oh, you're so sweet." And like me, I have like such this whole like feel like I have this way more complicated opinion about it. But did any of you guys like any favorite part of this movie in particular you guys want to talk about? Sam?
The whole sequence where it's like all of the worst generation members teaming up against Bullet and like getting their asses kicked.
Yeah.
Fucking wow.
That was a lot of fun. That was fun.
What? It's so good. Like just when you think like, they've all like shown off their powers. They've all done their part. This part of the fight's wrapping up, and then this like another awesome thing happens, and Drake has weirdly cute eyes in dino form. And
is this the first time we've seen him full dino? I know like in Shabandi, they kind of like, I think they shot it in a way they didn't completely show him.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think this might be the first time you just see him like, nope, just full body. Here he is.
Yeah, I don't know if the big eyes come from Oda or if that was just those few, because it's only a couple shots, but yeah, I thought that whole sequence was amazing.
Yeah, I think the beginning of the movie was, I think, pretty quick and pretty full of action. And I think the scene when they're both using haki, and that was also pretty nice to see.
Other than that, I kind of liked I liked Sanji helping out Robin with her
yeah, and he was pretty chill the whole time.
Yeah, like it wasn't like post time skip obnoxious. I do know, like it was cool to see like Zoro like square off with like Fujitora, like that's like a big deal. But I must admit, when Sanji clashed with Lucci, I jumped. I was like, yeah. Other than that, I think, like the ragtag team that kind of comes together to take down Bullet, that's like Smoker, Law, Buggy, Lucci, Hancock. Sabo, Hancock. Hancock is great in this. She got such a good reaction.
She's got she's in it quite a bit.
I think there's a scene where she, I think, mistook Buggy's nose for Luffy's shirt or something.
Yeah.
I think that got out a huge laugh from the audience.
Her like running up Bullet, like when she's just dashing up him, I was like, man, we need more of this Hancock. Like I feel like we Well, then again, I mean, Rainford, she did a lot of fighting, but like, I just love seeing her as like a badass.
I think Mihawk and Prono show up, and then they just aren't in the movie anymore.
Mihawk does I filled my obligation, which is very Mihawk of him. But I think that's the only problem is like, I know there's some people that were taking friends that had never seen anything One Piece, and I'm like, this is too inside baseball.
Well, it's
like
the story is simple enough for a wide audience, and then just if you're a fan, you might be like, oh my god, all the Easter eggs and all the it's cool to see all these characters. The thing with like the characters teaming up and stuff is that like most of the important characters, like they've met several times in the manga already, like or they're kind of the people you would naturally see in like the video games and stuff. So it's not quite that exciting.
Oh god, I keep forgetting Crocodile's in this movie.
Yeah, he's in it barely.
He
like
shows up
kind
and
of on the bad guy's side.
Is he on the bad guy's side?
Yeah, he's like working. I think he's like working with Bullet and Festa, but like
really,
he doesn't really do much other than kind of spill the beans to Robin. And who does he clash with? Does he fight Zoro? Yes, I think he does.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, he's just so barely in it. No, I think Law. Is it Law? No, because he's the one that tells Law. He tells Law what's going on.
I think Zoro and Crocodile clash for a moment, like how Sanji and Lucci do.
Probably, yeah, because when Zoro fights Fujitora, it's much earlier in the movie. I did enjoy Crocodile calling Robin Miss All Sunday again. I love how he does that. It's like through Alabasta, how he just stuck with calling Vivi Miss Wednesday.
Yeah.
I really dig that.
Did
I think
CP0 do anything?
Other than Lucci, I'm not sure. I think we see a little bit of CP0 in like during the end credits, right?
Yeah,
I think it's Stussy and Kaku.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, and definitely stay through the credits. People were leaving, and then there was that whole other scene at the end of the movie, which I would like to talk about as well, because it was hard to pick up on everything that was going on right away. Because it's I saw the subtitle version.
What scene are you talking about?
It's post credits. It's talking about the Eternal Pose. It's Roger talking to Ace, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh no, it's Roger talking to like just some guy on his crew who made the Eternal Pose.
Oh,
and Roger's like, "No, we won't be using this," and he tosses it overboard. And then,
there's another scene.
Well, yeah. While we're like watching this giant fish eating the Eternal Pose as like it's sinking in the ocean, like who's Roger arguing with? Like they're arguing about whose son is going to do what.
Yeah, I think he says that my son will be the king of the pirates or something.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Maybe he's talking to Bullet or something, or Shanks or Rayleigh or something.
Man, I guess I could have swore I thought Ace's voice actor was credited in. It was in the credits.
You're right, because they don't. I remember noticing that like they don't credit him as Ace. It's just like question mark.
So I wasn't sure if like Ace was talking with Roger at the end, but
I think that's just referring to the Fire Fist.
Okay, yeah, because Sam, you know better than because you would clearly know if Travis Willingham was talking at the end of the movie.
Yeah, no, something like that.
Okay, yeah, because I remember that being confusing. I had no idea who Roger was talking to.
No, he's just like bragging that his son is going to be king of the pirates to somebody else who wants to be king of the pirates.
Okay, all right. It'd be fun if he was talking with Whitebeard. Like, no, my son will be. It's like, well, you guys both technically have the same son. I think other than that, is there anything else really you guys want to talk about here?
I think the only thing is the opening music sequence when we see the sea train from Water 7, Baratie and everything. Do you remember this?
Vaguely. I don't remember what the music sounded like.
I think it was just music. Yeah, there was no song. And it was like basically a bunch of characters from the One Piece world that I think only the fans will recognize.
Yeah, it was like mixed in with all the festival crowd shots and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I do know what I want to talk about last, but in terms of the music, I couldn't even pick up on much of the soundtrack. It felt very low, and there was nothing that really was memorable. until
We
I
Are.
think, we do get a play of We Are, which was fine. I mean, I'm cool with that. I think We Are's had so much play throughout the anime that it's kind of lost its meaning a little bit.
I'm trying to think of the last time it was used.
In the anime, it's when, if we're not including TV specials, when the end of the time skip, when Luffy's running off after placing his straw hat down.
that like cover of it.
Yeah, and it's still Kitadani.
This is
I think
another
there was-
cover too, but it's very, very close to the original.
I think that might have been one of the people that did one of the songs for one of the TV specials or something, or one of the latest openings around that time. I do know one song that was playing. I think it's kind of towards the end of the movie. It's kind of like the final standoff, or like when like Bullet like was just like standing tall. I'm trying. It was definitely close to the end. I like that song a lot. It was like the only song from the soundtrack. That got like a reaction out of me. Way different than Film Gold. I think Film Gold, that soundtrack was crazy, and it felt like it felt like a part of the movie. While I think the soundtrack in this movie kind of felt more like background noise.
Yeah, it's just pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, but okay, let's talk about cameos for our final segment here, because oh boy, there are so many cameos in here. And I'm not just talking about Sabo and Law and Crocodile. There are insane cameos in this movie, and I'm kind of curious, what are some of the most what are the craziest ones you guys spotted?
I think good.
Like I'll start just like for me right off the book. I recognize Ratchet, the villain from movie 7, walking around in the crowd. I was like, whoa. That was the first one that made me go, crazy.
Were you the one who brought up to me the like ship to ship salesman dude from?
Yes, from the post Alabasta filler, the guy like the door to door salesman that goes on the Straw Hats ship and tries to sell him a bunch of stuff.
If I remember, it's like not even his face is in it. Like his body is kind of like mostly off.
That shows you how much of a nerd I am.
I noticed Carmen. The woman who like Sanji faces off against in Logtown.
Oh wow.
She's in like the beauty contest part with Nami.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Karina was also there from Film Gold.
I think Gedatsu
Really?
was there. Yeah, Gedatsu with Baccarat.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, wasn't it like the whole what's Gedatsu up to now? He's got that hot springs.
Oh, he works at the hot springs.
Yeah,
with,
like I thought the hot springs have like a logo or something that was like around Gedatsu.
Oh, really? I didn't see Gedatsu. Hachi and Kami were there selling takoyaki.
But Kami had the wrong hair. She had the pre-time skip.
Did she?
Yeah.
Was she wearing a hat though?
She had like a
She
little
was
bandana thing.
Okay, maybe.
I think they were also in the credits. I think they were saying goodbye to revolutionaries.
Yeah, all the
In the end,
revolutionaries.
yeah.
Well, I don't know if all of them are in there, but like Sabo Koala's in there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think Hack. I think another super crazy. No way. This is how nerdy I am about One Piece. I think I could swear I saw the 2 thugs or pirates that confront Tashigi the first time we ever meet her at Logtown.
I could not picture them in my head right now.
I swear, I think one of them has like a buzzed head. Like it kind of looks like me. I think it was either them or it was. It was so brief. It was either those guys or it was the guys from the post Alabasta, the Zoro flashback with Johnny and Yosaku. Those guys, maybe.
Oh, that would be a deep pull.
That is like a very deep pull. I mean, I think one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to just seeing this movie again is just turning my brain off and just trying to spot as many characters as I can.
The screen.
And of course, like Panda Man, I think it shows up like 20 times in this movie.
Yeah, that's one of the.
Yeah.
It's like one of the gimmicks is
Yeah,
spot the where's Waldo, where's Panda Man.
he's not even trying anymore. He sometimes it's very obvious you could find him. Like he's like a member of Buggy's crew at one point.
The Risky Brothers, I think, are pretty prominent in that one crowd.
Yeah,
shot
they're in the-
that they repeat like 5 times.
Yeah, they're in the crowd. Yeah, and I think they're even like in the trailer too. I think that's like that's one thing I recommend about this movie. If you're like a huge One Piece fan, that's something you'll get out of it. And if you're familiar with a lot of the One Piece anime, you'll see a lot of old faces. But I don't know, Adil, did you have anyone else you spotted that we haven't mentioned?
Conus, I think.
Conus, huh?
Oh yeah, I think I
Yeah.
remember her showing up.
And yeah. Who voices Foxy in the dub? I think it's Jonathan Brooks, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, okay.
Which is, I think, is one of the best performances in the entire dub.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And at least
funny.
Foxy gets a few roles. He doesn't get too many. I mean, too many lines, I should say.
I mean,
But,
he's in the movie more than a lot of characters.
yeah, like him and Wapple kind of have like a similar role.
Yeah, I think the gag with Wapol was quite funny.
They just keep showing up, and then they're disappointed to find out that they're not important.
Saying, yeah, and Wapole getting like trampled on is very cathartic.
Big News Morgans.
Yeah.
He's like the most recent character. Like he's the only like Whole Cake Island original
Yeah,
characters in this.
Yep. I feel like such a hipster because people were getting overjoyed about like Hancock and stuff, and I see Big News Morgans. I'm like, hell yeah! I didn't even know he was gonna be in the movie.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I think was it Dufresne or what's his name was from one of the black market guy that showed up at.
I think like all of the black market people are on those screens that Buena Festa is talking to.
Yeah,
but Morgan's is like the most prominent one.
Yeah, like I think Dufresne, maybe he's the guy that who tried to open up the Tame Tobacco, right? And I think he got shot.
Or finger banged by Stussy.
Interesting, but that's what it's called. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was on one of those screens. So,
How does Morgan sound in the dub? I don't know.
He sounds good. I mean, like it's not like a performance that it's not like the way we flip out about like a Foxy or something. He opens his mouth and you go, yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, I'm only familiar with his dub actor because he took over the role of Nezumi in episode of East Blue, and I thought he was really good. So I could totally see, I could totally hear that voice coming out of Morgan's. Dufeld, I'm sorry, not Dufresne. Dufresne is a joke from a Mitch Hedberg stand-up.
Andy Dufresne from The Shawshank Redemption.
Or that's like he crawled through 20 miles of shit, or whatever it was. But yeah, I think it's yep. Putting it out there. But yeah, to wrap it up, it's I think it's a treat for One Piece fans. It is celebrating the 20th anniversary. I think that was their intent, is just celebrating all these, adventures, all these characters, put them into one, less focus on a movie and less focus on like the antagonists and just the characters that people want to see just doing fun things. It's a fine film. It's not one, like I said, it's not one of my all-time favorites. Of course, I'm going to watch it again. I'm expected to see it 2 more times in theaters, and I'll watch it from time to time. But it's good. I don't like the phrase "turn your brain off," but just expect to just go in for like a sugar rush of One Piece.
And maybe I think because of the action, I think the people who are not familiar with One Piece, I think they can watch it. Maybe.
Yeah.
They'll have a good time. Yeah.
It's broad that you don't need to necessarily understand who everybody is. You can pick up the important stuff from context, and the really deep pull stuff is all cameos and stuff that doesn't have necessarily a huge impact on the plot.
Yeah.
It's it's One Piece in theaters. If it's playing a local one near you, you should go out of your way to see it. I think it's such like a rare opportunity. I'm trying to think what another metaphor it is. It's a unicorn. I don't know. But I think that's gonna do it. Yeah. I think we've had plenty to say, plenty to discuss. I don't know how long we were expected to talk, but I think we got some length out of it for sure. So yeah, be sure to check out One Piece Stampede in theaters as of this recording. But go check it out. Support official releases of the series. And you paying for a ticket or for a movie ticket to go see One Piece in films. That lets these people know that
we want more One Piece.
We want more One Piece.
There's not enough of it out in the world.
Nope. Especially not here. In the US of A, I should say. But yeah, it was great talking to you guys about the movie. And we'll get into the next segment.
All right.
This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 592 for October 24th, 2019. We will be back this Sunday with Matt Cohen, chapter 960 of the manga, and a lot more, so please stay tuned then. Hopefully we see you guys at the movies. I'm going to just wrap it up there, so we'll see you on Sunday, everyone. Goodbye. 嵐のように弱さを知れば一人じゃ何もできなかった言葉は